Good morning and welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, we're actually waiting to go out, and I thought I'd do a video because I'm just looking around at the books, and I read some work by another writer. The reference is on my phone somewhere, so I can't actually give it to you, but this man had a very, very sharp wit, and I will feature some of his of what he said because I learned quite a bit from it. But anyway, I looked at, I wonder why do we read, and what's the benefit, apart from anything, because you can actually go on YouTube and you can type in, well, you can type in almost anything, can't you? And you'll get the information that you need. I actually looked at a thing on Facebook, and the man there was saying that the education system was completely outmoded, that we're learning on our education system, that thing that we inflict on our children at the moment is all about memorizing things. And a long time ago we used to do that. I can still remember that the Battle of Hastings was 1066. Haven't actually had a lot of reason to use that. In fact, that's the first time that I've ever quoted it in support of anything. The Battle of Hastings, 1066. And as a child I had that drummed into me along with the other things. Well, since then I've managed to cobble together something of an education, and cobble together would be the operative word. Well, words. Anyway, I'm looking. I actually saw one. I think it was Dennis Waitley. I'm not sure, and he said that if you had to commute, which is very likely certainly if you're an American living on the outskirts of LA, you probably spend an hour each way going to work. So you probably listen to the radio, or you listen to music, which is good. That's what I do. That's my peaceful time. My peaceful alone time is in the car, in the truck, listening to my music instead of pop music or popular music, which Beth likes. So, but if Dennis Waitley, I think, said that if you used that to listen to educational tapes over a period of a few months of listening to 2 hours of educational tapes, now CDs, you would have the equivalent of, if you took it all in, you'd have the equivalent of a BSc. So reading is really important, and I do a great deal of it, and I like to think that it keeps it keeps at bay the cotton wool that threatens to enshroud my ancient brain, is how I look at it. These are some of the books that I've read, and I'm not going to do a rundown on what the book was about, but unless it had a special meaning for me. But sometimes, and this is not in the order that it comes in. In fact, I'll tell you what I'm reading right now. What I'm reading right now is The New Evidence. The New Evidence, and that's a book about all of the evidence that has come to light in recent years in support of the authenticity of the Bible, which I felt that I needed to know a little bit more of. Now, that's the one that I'm wading through, because that's kind of a little bit on the textbook type of thing, an incredible amount of information to be taking in, and of the 700 pages or so that is in that book, I've managed to get through about 40 over a considerable number of weeks, because I read every night going to bed, and with that particular book, it's hard going for me. I don't have that kind of mind for textbooks, but I count it as a labour of love, reluctant though it may be, when I'm trying to get through. So there's that book. Now, the other book that I'm reading, which is proving to be an absolute revelation, every so often people will suggest a book. I'm very happy to receive a book which is educational. The books that I'm sent, which are brilliant books, and probably mostly best-selling books by very successful authors. If they're novels, I tend not to get so much enjoyment out of that, because I'd rather be reading something which I actually enjoy taking in new information. As I said, keeps the old brain alive. The other one, this is the one that I just said was a great book. This is by a man called Miller, and it's titled Bureaucrats to Barbarians, and it's not quite as odd as it might sound. Bureaucrats to Barbarians talks about how a company, when it is brought alive by the first person with the idea and the passion to make it happen, and how it goes from the original creation and everybody coming. I mean, think Bill Gates. He started his company in his garage. I call those cottage industries, which go crazy. Now he has so much money, I can't count the zeros, and I can't work out quite how much he makes, if that's your measure of success. So that one is a good book. Now, let's look at some of the books that I've made and a quick word about them. The Alchemist, I counted that as a fun book, but which made me think in a spiritual way, thinking about how I can improve. It's about the adventures of a young boy looking for treasure and then finding it in his heart. The Pastures of Heaven, brilliant book, fun, joyful, just incredible, because it's John Steinbeck, and so by definition it has to be incredible. Now, I spent a long time with Truman Capote. Truman Capote wrote these wonderful short stories, among many other things, but there is a book out now with the complete stories of Truman Capote, and I guarantee that you will be very, very sad in the most wonderful way when you've finished reading the book, because you just don't want the stories to end. I can't speak more highly of any author than that. Then he makes you sorry that, oh no, you're looking and you're saying, oh no, there's only one more story to go. Now, The Kindness of Strangers, that was sent to me, and I enjoyed that because it is about the accounts of various people talking of things that happened in their life where the kindness of strangers was a pivotal moment. Quantum Success. I actually got that by mistake, or it was sent to me in the name of another book which was about quantum physics. Quantum physics, the easiest way to think of that is The Secret. The Secret really talks about the quantum physics, because what you put out is what you get back. Think of it as being one of those bowls that's on one of those little bowls, and you have a ping pong bat, a tennis table bat, and you bat it out and it comes back again, and that's quantum physics. That thing which you put out, you will get back. So be careful what you put out, because if you're doing nasty things, then karma and quantum physics has a bill for you to pay. A Shepherd Looks at Psalm 23, a most unexpected book, which was given to me by a friend who said that it was a book that he bought often and just gave to people because it was a changing book, a book of changes. When you've read that book, you will be a changed person. It's not one of those words, oh, that changed my life, I'm telling you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something where you will you will be amazed at what the book is about. A shepherd's look at Psalm 23. Psalm 23 in its entirety was written by King David, who was a shepherd. The man who wrote A Shepherd's Look at Psalm 23 explained what Psalm 23 means, and it is written from the viewpoint of a shepherd. So you learn a lot out there. Now we come to the new evidence and bureaucrats to barbarians, which I've already talked about. And then the twilight theory, the twilight of the theory of evolution. A very surprising book. It's about the theory, now note the word, theory of evolution. And the incredible effect that theory, which has now been taken as fact, has had on all of our lives. All the professors who are in their various positions in the universities would think not just twice, but probably 3 or 4 times before they would say that they didn't agree with the theory of evolution. Because unfortunately the opposite of the theory of evolution is creationism, and everybody then launches straight into that quicksand of religion, and that's not really the case. The thyroid book. I read the thyroid book. I was given to that by John, who likes to be called John the Sailor, on, if you see him, John the Sailor Man, I think. John the Sailor is how he writes on Facebook. Very interesting about the effects of the thyroid on our lives. Now, the first 5 pages, well, I'll keep this to the last. Catch-22. Catch-22 is my other Bible. I go to Catch-22 to regain my slightly jaded look of the world. Catch-22, written by Joseph Heller, a brilliant book, probably one of the best books ever written. The Warrior of the Light. Warrior of the Light goes hand in hand with The Alchemist, written by the same man. And this one, a surprising book, The Little Book of Wisdom, written by a man who ran a company that was all to do with image, maintaining image, and a surprising book. And it did have a great deal of wisdom in it. Now, back to the first 5 pages. And the first 5 pages was a book that I read when I was hell-bent on being a writer. And I read this book, don't know how I came about this book. The first 5 pages is a writer's guide to staying out of the rejection pile. So it's from a few years ago, because most people now are going online, going to Amazon, writing an e-book, and so many books now are not in this form. This is the book that I'm looking at, and this is how I like to read books, even though my 3 books, which are collections of short stories, which are on Amazon.com, are in e-book form. But this is sums up about what we all have to go through in life, and that is the rejection. And this one, in this particular case, this is a rejection letter that was sent from a Chinese publisher to Louis Zugowski and his book A. Never read the book, haven't heard of it, but that only shows my ignorance rather than that this man is not famous or successful. But this I think is a wonderful way of, if you've ever been tempted to say no to someone, if you can say no in this way, I think that you will have had a great deal of time spent in books and getting a hang of words. Most Honourable Sir, we perused your manuscript with boundless delight. and we hurry to swear by our ancestors. We have never read any other that equals its mastery. Were we to publish your work, we could never presume again on our public and name to print books of a standard not up to yours. For we cannot imagine that the next 10,000 years will offer its archetype. We must therefore refuse your work that shines as it were in the sky, and beg you 1,000 times to pardon our fault, which impairs but our own offices. Signed, the publishers. May we all have to suffer such an eloquent refusal, denial, rejection. Thanks for looking in. I can take my glasses off now. Bye for now.